There's very few shots in pickleball that are more frustrating than watching that lob go up and over your head multiple times in a match. If you want to learn the secrets of a killer offensive lob so you can have your opponent scrambling all over the court, stay tuned. The kitchen line lob can be an incredibly successful play to use in pickleball, but there's a lot we need to know to get it right. You got to know when to hit it, when not to hit it, the proper technique. Plus, we're gonna talk about 5 tips that are gonna skyrocket your success rate for the kitchen line lob. In this video, we're gonna cover all that and more, so let's get into it. Okay, so first, let's talk about the most common mistake that I see people lobbing up at the kitchen line. The tendency is to lob when we're in trouble, okay? So you're up in a dinking rally, somebody hits a good shot, we're scrambling, we're off balance, maybe we're backing up, maybe we're reaching, and that's when I see those lobs go up because we're panicking, we don't know what else to do, so we throw the ball up in the air. The problem is the margin for error on that shot is very, very small. For you to actually get that ball over your opponent's head is difficult. For you to keep it in the court is difficult because we don't have good balance, we don't have good body control to really hit a precise shot. Most likely what's gonna happen is you're either gonna miss it long or you're gonna pop it up and leave it a little bit short and they're gonna be slamming it overhead at your feet when you're up here at the kitchen line. So remember, when you're in trouble, especially at the kitchen line, the correct play to get you out of that is still to try to just hit that reset dink. Try to get out of your mind that the lob is gonna get you out of any trouble when you're up here. At the baseline, that does work. So if you're at the baseline and you wanna throw up a high lob to kind of buy some time or get out of trouble, that's fine, but we're not using that type of lob at the kitchen line. So in the next couple of videos, I've got some great giveaways coming up for you guys. When I play a tournament, I only play with 1 paddle per tournament, which means I've got some extra lightly used paddles just lying around, and I'd like to give them away to you guys. So if you wanna win this paddle, leave a comment below, and we're gonna go through and pick a comment that has no likes and no replies. Okay, so for part 2, we're gonna talk about the technique of how to execute this shot. And it's actually a lot simpler than you think. So this is almost identical to dink technique. If you think about it, when we dink, especially like a neutral kind of non-offensive dink, we're dinking with an open paddle face. And if you actually think about kind of what a neutral dink looks like, it's actually just a mini lob as far as like shot trajectory. The ball's gonna kind of have that same trajectory as a lob. So when I'm dinking, I got an open paddle face and I touch that ball nice and light to get it to go over and drop in the kitchen. The only difference when I lob is I can in general keep that same open paddle face. I'm just gonna add more acceleration to get that ball popped up and over, but it's actually gonna be on a same trajectory as a dink would. So the most difficult part about the lob and the main thing you're trying to regulate is power level. So when we hit this, if you don't give it enough power, it's not gonna get up high enough and get over your opponent's head and they're gonna slam it. If you give it too much, it's gonna travel too far and it's gonna be long, okay? So we've gotta keep this shot nice and simple, and it really just takes practice to regulate how much we're gonna accelerate through that ball to get the right amount of power to get it popped over, but still keep it landing in that court. I want to give a big thanks to my sponsor, Selkirk. Check out the link in the description below and you'll get a free gift card with your purchase. Okay, so for the last part of this, I want to give you 5 keys that are going to be super critical to making this a successful, sustainable play and not just a one-off thing. So first of all, we're going to talk about the mindset a little bit. All the things that you think about when deciding if a ball is attackable are going to be the same criteria we use when deciding to lob. So if I'm up to the kitchen line and I've got a ball that's maybe short or out of the air and I'm on balance, I'm in good body control. So if I have a ball that I can attack with a flick, that same setup would give me an opportunity to lob. So I want you to start thinking of the lob as almost like an attack because you're gonna use it in very similar situations. Just like we wouldn't attack off of our back foot or off balance or in trouble, the lob is gonna fall under that same criteria. Our second key is that the closer you can hit the ball to the net, the better off your lob is gonna be. As you move farther back, the apex of the lob comes farther this way, which means that lob is gonna come down and make it easier for your opponent to get back and possibly hit an overhead on it. If I'm taking that ball earlier into the kitchen or farther out, that pushes the apex of the lob farther back in the court that way, which means as the ball goes over my opponent's head, it's actually still gonna be rising. So if I get that initial ball over their head, it's probably a good chance they're not gonna be able to get back and get an overhead on it. So look for those lobs when the ball is short, when you're stepping into the kitchen or reaching in, taking the ball out of the air. Those are gonna be the easiest ones to pop up and over your opponents. So our third key is don't go too high with your lob. We think of this lob sometimes as this sky high shot, but in reality, all we need to do is just get it over the height of our opponent. So a good drill for this is have a partner stand in front of you with their paddle extended as high as they can reach it. And we're gonna just pop that ball maybe 2 feet higher than that point. We're gonna aim just barely over their paddle tip, because the lower the lob is, the quicker it's gonna get back down to the ground, which means the partner is gonna have a harder time getting back to help, or they're not gonna have time to get back and get an overhead on it. If it's too high, you maybe get it over them initially, but they're gonna have time to maybe run it down or get back quickly on it. So try to keep that height as low as possible. So our fourth tip is, when possible, try to lob over the backhand side. Because if you do screw this up and leave it a little bit short, if your opponent is hitting it like this, they're not gonna be able to hurt you that much. But if you try to lob right over their forehand side and screw it up, you're probably gonna catch it and you're gonna be in trouble there. Think about that lob line going across the backhand, and that way if we do screw it up, it's not as penalizing. And for our fifth and final tip, and this is probably the biggest one, is situational awareness is key here, okay? And there's a lot of things we have to take into account. The first one is the wind. If I'm playing a match where I'm playing into the wind, so the wind's coming at me, I may be lobbing as a main strategy, because it's very easy to hit a lob into the wind and then get that wind to knock it down. If we switch sides in that game and now I'm playing with the wind at my back, I'm probably not lobbing for the rest of the game, okay? So it went from one of my main strategies to now I'm not doing it anymore, because if I throw up that lob, wind takes it and now it's gone. It's almost impossible to keep it in the court. So it's a situational thing that we gotta be aware of. Another one is, how athletic are our opponents? How tall are our opponents? Do they move back quickly? Do they have good overheads? If we screw it up, do they have really solid, powerful overheads? So these are all things to take into account. Do we have opponents that like to hold and really reach into the kitchen? They're gonna be easier to lob. Does your opponent like to play a step or two off the line and play very defensive? They're gonna be tougher to lob. So not everything is created equal. We gotta look at our situation, we gotta look at our opponents, we gotta look at their athletic ability, and all this is gonna play into how successful this can be for us. If you like this video and you like this content, make sure to subscribe and you can check out all my other videos. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you liked it. Remember, now that you're gonna go out and practice, to take your screenshot guide so you have all the tips from today's video right at your fingertips.